Top 10 places to visit in Germany. Germany is one of those countries that completely changes once you start exploring beyond the stereotypes. A lot of people imagine modern cities, highways, and business districts. But then suddenly you find medieval towns that look frozen in time, castles sitting above forests like fantasy movie sets, mountain villages surrounded by lakes, and streets where every building feels centuries old. What makes Germany fascinating is how dramatically the atmosphere changes from one region to another. It is the kind of place that slowly grows on people until they suddenly realize they do not want to leave. Berlin. Berlin feels alive in a way very few cities do. History exists everywhere here, but the city never feels trapped by it. One street might hold reminders of major world events, while the next is packed with modern art, music, cafes, and neighborhoods full of energy late into the night. Berlin constantly reinvents itself, and that mix of old and new gives the city a personality unlike anywhere else in Europe. The Brandenburg Gate, remnants of the Berlin Wall, Museum Island, and massive public spaces all make the city feel important before you even understand its full story. But what really makes Berlin memorable is the atmosphere. It feels creative, unpredictable, and slightly chaotic in the best way possible. Munich. Munich feels polished, beautiful, and incredibly easy to fall in love with. The city mixes traditional Bavarian culture with modern luxury so naturally that everything feels balanced perfectly. Large open squares, historic churches, elegant buildings, and outdoor cafes make the center feel constantly alive, especially during warmer months when people gather everywhere outside. And then there is the food culture, beer gardens, and festivals that give Munich its famous personality worldwide. But beyond the celebrations, Munich also feels surprisingly calm and organized compared to many large cities. The English Garden alone feels like an entire escape hidden inside the city with rivers, walking trails, and huge green spaces stretching across the area. Neuschwanstein Castle. Neuschwanstein Castle looks so unreal that many people genuinely think the first photos they see are edited. Sitting high above forests and mountains in Bavaria, the castle became one of the most famous landmarks in the world because it honestly looks like something designed for fantasy films rather than real history. The location itself already feels dramatic before the castle even appears. Roads twist through beautiful mountain scenery until suddenly the towers rise above the trees like a storybook coming to life. And while the outside grabs most attention, the surrounding landscape makes the experience unforgettable. Lakes, forests, and mountain views stretch in every direction, creating scenes that almost feel too perfect to exist naturally. Hamburg. Hamburg has a completely different energy compared to most German cities. Built around one of Europe's largest ports, the city feels deeply connected to water everywhere you go. Rivers, canals, bridges, and harbors shape the entire atmosphere, giving Hamburg this cool and slightly cinematic feeling, especially at night when lights reflect across the water. The Speicherstadt district looks incredible with its historic red brick warehouses stretching beside narrow canals while modern architecture rises nearby in sharp contrast. Hamburg somehow feels industrial and elegant at the same time. The Black Forest. The Black Forest feels exactly like the kind of place where old fairy tales would begin. Dense forests, winding roads, small villages, wooden houses, and rolling hills create an atmosphere that feels peaceful but also slightly mysterious at times. Fog moving through the trees early in the morning makes the region look almost unreal, especially during colder months when everything becomes silent except for wind and distant church bells. The area became famous worldwide partly because of legends and folklore connected to the forests, and honestly, it is easy to understand why once you experience the landscape in person. Cologne. Cologne instantly captures attention because of its cathedral. The Cologne Cathedral dominates the skyline so dramatically that it almost feels impossible compared to everything surrounding it. Standing beneath it for the first time honestly makes most people stop walking for a second because the scale is difficult to process in person. But the city itself has much more personality beyond the cathedral alone. Cologne feels warm, social, and energetic with riverside views, busy squares, and a relaxed atmosphere that makes visitors feel comfortable quickly. The Rhine Valley. The Rhine Valley looks almost designed specifically for postcards. Castles sit above vineyards while small towns stretch beside the river with colorful buildings and narrow streets creating one beautiful scene after another. Traveling through the valley feels peaceful because the landscape constantly unfolds slowly around the water. Boat rides along the Rhine are especially unforgettable since every turn reveals another castle, hillside village, or dramatic viewpoint above the river. Some sections honestly feel too perfect to be real. During autumn, the vineyards covering the hills turn deep golden orange while morning fog creates this soft, cinematic atmosphere across the valley. Dresden. Dresden surprises many visitors because of how elegant the city feels. Historic buildings, grand squares, churches, and riverside views give Dresden an atmosphere that feels refined and almost royal at times. Large parts of the city were rebuilt carefully after destruction during World War II, and today, many areas look stunningly beautiful again. Walking through Dresden during sunset beside the Elbe River feels calm and cinematic with the skyline reflecting across the water. Bavarian Alps. The Bavarian Alps completely change how people imagine Germany. Giant mountains, crystal-clear lakes, green valleys, and villages surrounded by dramatic scenery create some of the country's most breathtaking landscapes. During summer, the region feels vibrant and peaceful, while winter transforms everything into snow-covered mountain scenery straight out of a movie. Places like Garmisch-Partenkirchen attract visitors year-round because the environment feels both relaxing and adventurous at the same time. Cable cars rise into the mountains while hiking trails and lakes stretch across the valleys below. Frankfurt. Frankfurt feels modern, international, and completely different from Germany's older historic cities. Skyscrapers rise above the skyline while riverside paths, museums, and historic sections still preserve parts of the city's older identity. The contrast between glass towers and traditional buildings gives Frankfurt a unique atmosphere that feels more global than many other places in the country. At night, the skyline lights reflecting across the main river create one of Germany's most recognizable city views. And despite its reputation as a financial center, Frankfurt still has quieter neighborhoods, parks, and cultural spaces that balance the fast-paced energy surprisingly well. Germany is one of those countries that keeps surprising people because every region feels like a different experience entirely. Castles, mountains, rivers, forests, historic cities, and modern skylines somehow all fit together naturally without losing their own identity. If this video made Germany feel even more interesting than before, hit like, subscribe, and comment which place impressed you the most, because honestly, some parts of Germany feel straight out of another era completely.